Alright, Rock Howell Shy, okay. Double honest, the apostles of GMS. Honest, your brothers will be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And, you know, we're going to get into it through the spirit, okay. We get through some topics, some different things that are happening out there as pertaining to prophecy, as pertaining to the nation of the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, the Israelites dispersed throughout the four corners of the earth. What the Most High is going to be doing as pertaining to their salvation, okay, as pertaining to their destruction, because the scripture does talk about how that 2/3 of our people is going to be destroyed, man, okay. It does talk about how that 2/3 of our people is going to be destroyed. And you got this thing out here now, okay, with the ISUPK and the IUIC. They pretty much became the modern day equivalent, and the brothers out there in Dallas have brought this out. They become the modern day equivalent of the movement that you had in the past, where if you had Malcolm X and he was the extremist and they blew his head off, okay, them they being the elite banking families, okay, and you got it to where IUIC is the more what's deemed as the more household friendly Israelite group, okay. So pretty much you got a situation where Esau right now, he's getting into a zone where he's gonna be using these two opposing ideas, as it were, because you got one where that's very militant, very a militia type group, that being ISUPK, and you got it to where you got IUIC, who's feeding the people a more polite, more softer doctrine, okay. But in the Most High, like the brothers were getting into, the Most High is throwing his wild card out there, that being GMS, all right, and brothers are like that are teaching this truth and sincerity. And by them, you was going to have it to where people was going to stay awake to this thing, okay? See, the thing is, with a group like IUIC, they're going to be the ones that's going to be saying, look, we're going to take the chip. But all of them, both sides, is going to be thrown into a ditch, man, okay? When Esau rolls down heavy, as it speaks about within the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, when Esau comes down with great, you know, with his military, okay, with his floods like a storm, okay, as he did in prior times, going back onto 70 AD when they had took down Jerusalem, okay? And you had to where a lot of people out there within Jerusalem fled into the interiors of Africa. Well, you had the same thing going on back there. You had cats that were down for the doctrine in its purity, okay? And you had cats that were, you know, trying to merchandise the doctrine of the Yahweh Shemi Al Shai. People forget, when these scriptures were written, they was written for the times that they were living in right there, okay? But it was also applicable for what was going to happen out here within the future. That's why there's a thing within the scripture of there's nothing new underneath the sun, man, okay? So I quoted a scripture right there within the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. I'm going to go to it, all right? And I'll go straight to the point. This is 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, and the 16th verse. So it said, for they shall be sedition among men. Okay, now that's starting first and foremost on a global scale, okay? Sedition meaning civil unrest. You're going to have it to where, you know, certain countries are going to come up against other certain countries. The book of Mark 13th chapter goes into that. Okay, how that certain nations were going to come up against other nations. Okay, but there's a larger game at hand. Okay, a lot of people don't have the mental capacity to understand that these elite banking families have set up central banks within India, within Pakistan, within Russia, within Europe. When they set up all of those central banks and so on and so forth, they pretty much acclimatize all of the wealth of whatever nation that they set up those central banks in. So when you go into where Russia's coming up against the United States, those are the same. That's the elite banking families playing these countries like puppets, because the deeper agenda at hand. Okay, hence the sedition, hence the civil unrest, hence the riot, the mass riotings that you go out there, hence the mass amount of people that's getting killed off out there within Syria and places like that, of which all of those are blood sacrifices. Okay, that's why it always happens around about them holidays, man. Okay, and that's gonna be a topic that I have to do a sit down on, because when you see where all of those holidays line up, when you're talking about Saturnalia, which people call Christmas, okay, Easter, okay, May Day. Okay, those are all satanic witchcraft days, which we're in one of those satanic holidays. Okay, we're in what's known as something. I believe the word is feed the beast or something like that. It's a very high holiday for these elite banking families, man. Okay, and that's why you might have it to where something pops up out there within the Middle East, and this, that, and the third happen, an airstrike, and this, that, and happen. That goes back onto the occult beliefs that these elite banking families have, and going back onto the elite banking families and their occult beliefs. One of their beliefs is that they're gonna amass the world's resources to themselves. Okay, they actually believe that they're gonna take over the world. Okay. Right, by way of their military, which is their blessing, going back onto the book of Genesis, the 27th chapter, they actually believe that they're going to amass all the world's resources to themselves, okay, and they're going to take over the world, which was promised unto Jacob, man, okay. No, I'm not dealing with that. You're speaking of another Jesus, man, okay, all right. So when you see all of these things popping up all over these different countries, that's all going back onto what is spoken about within the book of Genesis, the 27th chapter, how that Jacob was going to inherit the whole entire earth, okay, and Esau was going to possess it for a certain period of time. But that's why the scripture also says within the book of Revelations, the 12th chapter, how that how that Esau was going to come down having great wrath, because he knows he has a short time, okay, because he knows about the scriptures where with Esau was going to have the blessing for a certain period of time, but ultimately Jacob was going to inherit the whole earth. That God ties in with 2 Ezra, the 6th chapter on the 9th verse, where it talks about how that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth after, man. Okay, so all of these things are all tying in together and they're all intertwined. Okay, but the one thing that keep on being pushed back into the background is the men of the Lord and the word that's going to be pushed forth, and what the Most High is going to give to them as a result of pushing this word, which is the whole entirety of the earth. See, the thing that Esau is trying to obtain, which is the earth's resources, okay, which is the people, with which the people, they're the fundamental resource that's to be had. Okay, when you think about how the monetary system is all set up, right? They say the actual value that gives the actual thing that gives value to that money, the currency, is the people behind it, because they believe in that currency, man. So you talk about slaves and resources and oil and all of that. Really, the one fundamental resource that you got upon the face of the earth is these Goyim, man, these heathens. Okay, so you got into where Moab's out there making all the different types of things out there within China. You got into where Ammon's making their technologies out there within Japan, and so on and so forth down the ladder. But someone's gonna have to be the consumer amidst that, and that's usually the person that's on top of, on their A game. That's it. That's on the top. And that right now, that person is Esau, but he's trying to extend the bounds of his kingdom to exist forever and ever. Okay, but the Most High ain't gonna have it to where that's gonna be fulfilled, man. Okay, which some of these topics I'm touching on, in light. All right, but ultimately, we might get through some of them topics, and some of those topics I ain't gonna be getting back onto. Okay, so this book of 2 Ezra, the 15th chapter, and back in the 16th verse, it says, "There shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes." So that's the time that's going to come down upon the face of the earth. Okay, that's the time that's going to come upon the face of the earth. Talk about the book of Jeremiah, the 30th chapter, on the time of Jacob's trouble. That's going to come upon the face of the earth. And you go to where you got IUIC coming out there, being a polite, household-friendly Israelite group. Okay, they're going to be the ones that you're going to have it to where Nate's going to say, "Look, boom, we're going to take the chip." Okay, the whole entire group of the IUIC is going to take the chip. Why? Because for whatever reason, okay, they don't deem that as being the mark of the beast that's spoken about within the scriptures. Okay, well, ultimately that comes down to a thing of who the Most High gave the entirety of what was given to us on this side, and who he gave the basics of knowledge, and to the even greatest point to where some people just don't have the doctrine, man. They just don't have the understanding of the scriptures at all. Okay, they believe that they are Afro-Caribbean. Okay, they believe that they are Negro. Okay, of which all of those are derogatory terms when you come into the fact and the understanding that you're dealing with the Israelites, the people of whom the Most High said this whole earth was made for you. Okay, we go to the book of 2 Ezra, the 8th chapter and 54th verse. What was said? It said, "If the earth be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance?" Okay. And the simple fact of the matter is, these Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, right, the Israelites throughout the four corners of the earth, they committed great iniquity against the Most High, and so therefore the Most High's anger was hot against them, so they're in the situation that they're in right now. Okay, so you go to the curses in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, you've seen all of those curses. They pertain to one group of people, okay, the people that have all the flavor, okay, all the spice, but they're able to amass all of that wealth to themselves. They'll be the greatest sports people, they'll be the greatest scientists, but they work for a company that owns the rights to whatever invention they come up with. Okay, they'll play all the basketball in the world, but they work for a so-called Jew that's going to take all of the resources of all the money that they have amassed, because they're underneath the curses of the Yahweh Shimi outside, man. All right, because they was the people whom with the Mosai made the covenant with, and they broke their side of the covenant. So the Mosai had to send he had to send a mediator, which that mediator is going to show himself just after the time of Jacob's trouble. That's when you go to the book of Jeremiah, the 30th chapter. It says what? That he shall be saved out of it. Okay, because the Mosai had it to where a mediator came along, and the man named Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus, and he was going to be what? He was going to be the pathway right back onto the Father, man. Okay, even when you go into the book of Malachi, was it the first chapter on the 4th verse? Okay, oh no, the 4th chapter around about the 5th verse, it goes into it. It says the Lord was going to send John the Baptist, okay, and he was going to he was going to send Elijah back again, and he was going to turn the hearts of the people back onto the Father, and he's going to go by way of the mediator, man. And that was who? The man Yahweh shot. Okay, so let's get back onto the point that we go out here. Back within the book of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter on the 16th verse, it says, and they shall be sedition among men, right, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the cause of their actions shall stand in their power. So you're going to have it to where individuals are going to be feeling some type of way about the governmental structure that's been set forth amongst them. That's why you got this thing with the Brexit out here. Okay, now you're getting into where that spirit of people standing in their own power, going about their own actions and doing whatever they want. That's becoming more of a norm. Okay. Right, that's why you got the same thing happening out there. You had it happen out there within the United States, where they had it to where this Trump administration came in, because they felt the old administration that was set up wasn't benefiting the American people. But see, we ain't talking about going back onto the glory days of America. The glory days of America was when you had it to where the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans were in hardcore captivity, because you had a slave labor force, okay, right? You had a labor force, employees that you didn't have to pay. That's the great old days of Esau right there. And that's the whole thing that he's trying to acclimatize himself to. That's the whole thing here. He's putting hell of a lot of work, right, trying to reset up. Because when you had the glory days of America or the glory days of Britain, you had it to where all of these different nations underneath them were in subordinate positions. Okay, you're talking about the so-called English Empire. They went out there into India, ransacked the whole country. They was out there in all of these different countries, and they was raping, robbing, and murdering. In other words, they had employees or subjects underneath them that they didn't have to pay, man. And that's where you had the glory days of the so-called British Empire, the glory days of the so-called American Empire, which we know in the scriptures as Babylon. Okay, and that's what Esau's trying to feed back into. Because here it is, you go to where Jacob's done woken up to certain things, and they feel like they could be on the same level as Esau. Okay, and Esau's trying to subject them back onto the position that he's more comfortable with Jake being completely subordinate underneath it. Okay, back within the scriptures, and I'm going to go to the book of Mark, the 13th chapter, just after this verse right here in the 17th verse. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. And that's dealing with the martial law troops that you're going to have out here, okay, right? You're going to have it, and that's not just talking about America or just England. That's going to be pretty much in every so-called major city that you have out there, where you have a large amount of internet access. So when you have it to where things are popping up within the monetary system, you're going to have it to where people are going to feel some type of way about the leverage or that they have against their own authorities, okay? In other words, to say, when you haven't got no food, no water, no resources, you're going to feel some type of way about that, and the cause of your action is going to stand in your power. You ain't going to wait for your boss. You ain't going to wait for your puppet government leader to tell you what to do. You're just going to do whatever you're going to do to feed yourself, okay, and secondary, to feed your family, man. And I say secondary because when you go into the time of Lamentations, you had it to a certain, when they had it held out there within Jerusalem, they were eating their own kids. So it's going to be a primitive state of mind, man. Okay, and that's what's being re-ushered into the stratosphere, man. That's being re-ushered into the people's mind. They've been more acclimatized to death, war, okay, famines. And that's going to be a new thing that's going to come up on the face of the earth, because when you go into where there's no monetary system, when you go into where they ain't got no oil, okay, being moved back and forth like that, okay, trucks is not moving resources back and forth. Well, where's all of these metropolis cities going to feed their people, their populace, okay? And that's why the scripture talks about plagues, death, and destruction, and famines, because when you see all of these metropolis cities, okay, and how these metropolis cities function in terms of resources, water, food, okay, shelter, okay, the movement of waste materials. When that all shuts down, There's gonna be a lot of death and diseases running rampant, man. Okay, so it's gonna be hella greasy out here for a lot of people pretty soon, man. It's gonna be hella greasy for a lot of the people pretty soon out here. Okay, so let's go to the book of Mark, the 13th chapter, and I'm gonna go through that a little bit. Then I go into this article that I got right here. Okay, and I might go through two articles. I'll see how the spirit have it. All right, and we just go in the spirit, man. Go in the spirit. Okay, so this is the book of Mark, the 13th chapter, and this is the 3rd verse. Okay, and this is dealing with how the mentality of the prophets, okay, the men of the Lord was, okay, in a time when the Lord was on the scene, okay, and pretty much you had a situation where the men of the Lord, they were hastening the day, as spoken about within the book of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. So they seen the Lord say certain things, as you're going to see within the scriptures, and they had asked him, when are these things going to come to pass, okay? The same thing happened when Ezra was on the scene, okay, and the Lord was dealing with him in a certain type of way, okay, and he was saying, look, when was going to be the signs, which I might get that within the book of 2nd Ezra, where is it, the 7th chapter, the 8th chapter, or the 7th chapter, I'll get it after, okay, and all of these individuals, all of these men, okay, these great men of old, okay, they was of the same spirit, they was of the same characteristics. That's why you have a thing that is spoken about within the book of 2nd Corinthians, how the spirit of the prophets was subject unto the prophets, and the whole anastrophe, the whole conversation of the prophets was, when was the kingdom going to be established, when was the kingdom going to be restored unto Israel, okay, not to be at one with Esau, okay, because the scriptures talk about if hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go altogether go unpunished. Okay, it also goes on to say in another part of the scriptures, I believe it's in the book of Amos, how that can two walk together lest they be agreed. So you got it to where if you have a group of individuals that believe they're the rulers, okay, that being the Israelites, and you got it to where another group of people that believe that actually they go taking their blessing was taken away from them and they're gonna try to get it back again, that being Esau. Then you got two opposing forces right there, okay, that's going to be constantly at odds, okay? And when you see the whole global history of how certain things have come into play, it's all been around Israel, man. It's always been around the Israelites, okay? So you're talking about the Babylonians. The Babylonians, the first thing they did was take them Israelites and bring them over onto Babylon. Okay, hey, the Egyptians got into great prominence because they had the Israelites as a cheap slave labor force out there, okay, making that country great again. And if you notice anything, when they left that country, that country was never on that stratosphere ever again, man. Okay, same thing with the Greco-Roman Empire. Some of them great generals that you have out there, they was all Israelites. Okay, how the whole thing of so-called civilization and how the irrigation system, okay, the sewage management system, that was all things that the Israelites came up with, man. Okay, those were all things that the Israelites came up with. But I say that pretty much to say this, that all of these great empires that you've had out there within prior times, they always were around the Israelites because they knew that they had the knowledge of certain things, man. Okay, so it was always around Israel. So when you had it to where the prophets were on the scene, they was like, look, we're subject unto these people. Okay, they got us in hardcore captivity because we've got that knowledge, we've got that juice. Okay, we got the understanding of sciences, mathematics, etc., etc. Okay, so they got it to where we're in hardcore servitude unto them. When you gonna have it to where we're gonna be restored into our position? That was the spirit and the thinking of the prophets of old, and that's the spirit and the thinking of the prophets that are right now, man. Okay, they're hastening the day. Okay, pushing forth and working until the Yahweh establishes Jerusalem as a praise upon the face of the earth. Okay, so this is the same thing that these prophets were dealing with right here within the book of Mark, the 13th chapter, and this is the 3rd verse. It says, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, right over against the temple, Peter, James, and John asked them privately, tell us when these things shall be." Okay, so when are you going to set it up to where Esau's kingdom is going to be destroyed? Okay, when are you going to set it up to where we ain't going to deal with it within a society that promotes everything contrary against the scriptures? Okay, when are you going to set it up to where we got the laws, statutes, commandments imprinted within our minds to where we're going to be living, okay, pleasing Yahweh Shem Yahshua. And like I said, when you read the curses in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the curses were also blessings, okay? Right, it was an agreement, right, established upon what? Established upon promise. If you do this, then you was gonna do well. If you do that, then you was gonna get jacked up. Okay, so it was a covenant based upon promise. Okay, And so now you got it to where you got a greater promise in that you're going to have it to where you're going to be in perpetual blessings because you got the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High impregnated within your spirit, within your mind. You're going to be doing right. So you're going to be in a perpetual state of being blessed. So they were saying, look, we see all of these things within the scriptures. You're telling us all of these things. When are these things going to be? Okay? When's going to be the signs of the times that these things going to be popping up? And that should be the thing that should be on your mind because you're seeing World War III popping out there between Russia and the United States. Okay? Right, they're using this whole Syria thing and this whole North Korea thing as a stepping stone towards what? To all that World War III. But it ain't a thing of Russia against the United States, like I said before. It's a thing of the higher ups, the ones that are upon a higher level than these governmental leaders, the ones that give Putin instructions, the one that gives Trump's instructions. Them individuals, they're all at one. They're in unison. Okay, they're taking crafty counsel against the anointed of the Most High and said, look, we're gonna set Russia up against America. Okay. Well, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to set up central banks in there. Once we own the people's resources, we own the government leaders, man. And once we have the government leaders, we're going to set them at odds against each other. Once they're at odds against each other, we're going to set World War III into play. Now, after World War III happens, okay, whilst we was out there in the bunkers, then we were going to reestablish a new world order, okay? And we was going to be kings and rulers. But see, you got it to where you got a trump card within that. Because the Lord said, look, they were going to be in them caves. They was going to be underneath the earth. Okay, but the Most High was going to have it to where the men of the Lord was going to be dragged out of there. Because here it is. Esau deals on a mathematical, scientific level. Okay, he sees people coming to war and battling up against each other. And he sees himself as the winner out of that. But the spiritual connotation of that is the Most High is having it to where he's doing that. That's why the scripture talks about how the Most High has taken the wicked in his own craftiness. The Most High is the ones that's putting the ethnic cleansing out there. The Most High is having it to where Esau's going to destroy a lot of Jacob because he's prophesied within the scriptures. The Most High is having it to where Esau's the one that's out there killing all of these wicked ass people across the whole face of the planet, the heathens and so on and so forth, because he's the one that sanctioned it because all of the wickedness that's happening out there within the face of the earth. The book of Amos, the 9th chapter and the 8th verse goes to show you that. But see, when Esau's going to realize it, he's going to realize it when he's out there within them caves. Okay, you had it to where ICBM nuclear missiles are done popped up all over the place. You had it to where a hell of a lot of people got dropped. Okay, and then you're going to have it to where what? You're going to have it to where the Israelites, the trump card that the Most High has been playing from the foundations of the earth, they're going to be the ones that's going to be on top after that, man. Okay, so back within the book of Mark, the 13th chapter, and this is the 4th verse. And he says, and tell us when these things shall be. Okay, so they was hastening the day. Okay, they was thinking upon the kingdom. Okay, tell us when these things shall